Welcome to the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Blue. Join me each week as we dive into amazing conversations with some of our industry's top leaders. We will talk about photography, business, and most of all, share the stories that have laid the foundation to our journey in this world we call photography. A couple of ways to support the show is to like, subscribe, and share the show with others. Leave those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you're a fan of seeing us live, we are on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Again, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
All right, welcome one and welcome all to another episode of the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm Marvin Blue. With me this week is a good friend. He's a world traveler. Most of all, he is a photographer coming to us from Florida. We got Curtis Bryant. CJ, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing well, man. So you coming fresh off another shoot today. You were shooting earlier, right?
Yeah, I just finished up like literally 5 minutes ago. So the hair's all a mess and all that, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, luckily the YouTube hasn't taken any traction yet, so no one's gonna see unless they go on the Instagram and see our little clips that we post up. So you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be the one that's gonna go viral. My hair's gonna be a mess. My wife's gonna get mad at me for you weren't presentable. It's like it's okay.
Hey, but someone told me I had a face for a podcast, so it works out well.
There you go.
All right, so let's get right into it. I mean, you're known in the parts for senior photography, but I mean, I know you as a very talented wedding photographer as well, and pretty much just the all-around photographer. Kind of the same track that I followed with the photography itself. But the one thing that's unique about you that I've always been impressed with is your ability to have been able to travel the world in this crazy thing we call photography. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So something we put together like 2017, I think was our first one. And kind of the idea behind it was we wanted to create more of experience-based photography for our clients. So I grew up with my grandparents. They were retired, so we traveled the world, growing up. By the time I graduated high school, I'd visited 4 different countries and 40-something states. So we got around every summer and did stuff. And so I kind of, had that travel, knowledge going forward with that. So we're like, hey, why don't we, start doing travel with the kids or with the seniors and offering that as an option. So about 2017, we launched that, did our first trip out to Salt Lake City, and we wanted snow pictures for that, because everyone in Florida does the beaches, kind of over the beaches, but, never do snow. And so all the people out west are like, yeah, I hate the snow. It's like kind of us with the beaches. So we went out to Salt Lake City, did the pictures out there with them, and then came back. Parents loved them, and we kind of figured out we had something going for that. So we just kind of kept it going.
Nice. So of all the places you travel or that you've been able to travel to doing this, what's been one of your favorite places?
That's a tough one because they're all unique. People ask me this all the time, all the places you've been to. I'd say probably US based. I would say Arizona.
Okay.
We go out into the desert in Arizona. You get the Grand Canyon. If you go up towards Page area, go into Utah and you get some Slot Canyon stuff like that. So that kind of that area. International, that's tough. I'd probably say Iceland, as cliche as that is. Mostly because Iceland is kind of Iceland's the Hawaii of the world, I think. Hawaii is diverse. You have the beaches, you have the mountains, you've got you can get snow there sometimes. You can do volcanoes, things like that. Iceland's got the same thing. You have the rock formations, you've got the beaches, you have the waterfalls, you've got the Martian landscape looking thing with the green moss, you get the blue lagoons. So there's a lot of different variety of pictures you can take there. So I'd probably say Iceland if I was to pick one place in the world.
Okay, Iceland's on my list. I'm trying to get there the next 2 years. Now that my oldest is graduating this year, I have a little bit more time to actually travel. So I'm excited. It's on my short list of places that I want to do shoots at. So hopefully,
yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong there. And it's kind of cool there. You can go in there in the summer and shoot 3 o'clock in the morning and it's still sun outside. It's kind of crazy. It's
nice.
Surreal. So a lot of times when we do that stuff, we take the kids out. We're like, hey, sleep all day. We're gonna go out at night and do stuff because there's no tourists. All the tour buses close up and go back, and so we get the locations to ourselves.
Nice. So let's kind of go back to in the history of Curtis Bryant and the photographer itself. How long you been a photographer now?
Since 2005. So what, 19 years?
Oh man, so you're hitting that grand 20s.
See the gray hairs up here somewhere.
Oh man, you're still a youngin'. What are you talking about? So how old were you when you got started though? Because you probably got started
23.
Okay.
Yeah, 23.
Okay, so yeah, you had an early start. Nice. I didn't realize it was 20 years for you.
Yeah, I was pretty much out of college. So I graduated with a marketing degree. And so at the time, my wife wasn't sure what she wanted to do. And so we had talked about, her being a stay-at-home mom kind of thing, but she didn't want to just, stay at home. So she wanted to do something. She did photography through college. She did yearbook stuff in high school, things like that. So she kind of had the eye for it. But she's not really a people person, we found out. So we came home, we started the business, and she's like, I don't want to go talk to people. It's like, well, you kind of have to talk to people to like book weddings and stuff. And she's like, well, I don't want to do that. So I kind of took that aspect over, and kind of did all the meetings and then all of those things. And I, learned photography on my own. I watched YouTube videos, I'm real techie, so I could figure stuff out on my own and just kind of figured it out. And then here we are, almost 20 years later.
So is it safe to say your wife was the one that got you into photography then?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we always made fun of the photographers and like the yearbook people in high school. I was one of the athletes, so I ended up getting a cross country scholarship. So I ran cross country and track in college. Never really was interested in photography at all. My mom took a lot of pictures with us. We would traveled and things like that. So there's like, books and books of pictures from those types of things. But it was never really on my radar. And then I kind of had to figure it out with her because she didn't really want to do the meetings. She did, like, for weddings, she's like, I don't want to be in the front of people. I was like, well, someone has to be in the front walking down the aisle. Someone has to direct people. Someone has to talk to all of them. So I kind of took that role and just kind of scrambled. In my first wedding, I think I've touched the camera at that point for like 2 weeks. And we like jumped right into it with the wedding. Yeah, I'd suggest people not do that anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like we jumped in. It was like $200 or something like that, and the lady hired us. And I told her, I was like, I never photographed a wedding before, and she's like, you know what? It's okay. We want to give young people a chance, and so if they mess up, they mess up, and but we want to give you a shot for it. And so Grant, fortunately, we didn't mess anything up, and she loved the pictures. But yeah, it was like 2 weeks in at that point, like a $200 wedding.
That was very nice of them because even to this day, I still get scared if I screw up something at a wedding. I'm like, oh, God, they're going to kill me.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of my personality too. Like my wife is completely opposite. She went like that same mentality. She's like, we're going to ruin this person's wedding, this and this, and they're going to sue us and they're going to own our house and our cars and, all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, what's the worst? You mess it up, you just refund $200,
Very true. Very true.
So
that's the fun stuff about when you first start out, because it was like when you look at the financial aspect of things, it doesn't seem like a big hit at the time. It seemed like a lot of money because we're getting started. But then when you look back at it, you're like, man, I could have refunded so many weddings back in the day. I was fighting people, and now you're like,
yeah, wow. I mean, it's like you look at it like and I'm not bashing anybody for this, but $200 isn't that much money. I mean, especially today. 20 years ago, a little bit more. But yeah, it's like. I'm not getting out of bed for $200 today, so it's kind of
very true. Now, so 20 years. Let's talk about the drive. What's kept you going 20 years? Because you've been through a lot of the ebbs and flows of this industry. So I mean, a lot of people will always ask, how do you get 20 years? And I say you got to put in the work. So how have you been able to put in the 20 years?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just the jumping into it and making it work. So we were the first 2 years we kind of worked in our house, and so we had like the studio in our living room. We did a bridal portrait, and we're like, yeah, this sucks, having to rearrange the couch and keep the house clean and all those things. People are coming to our house, and so we were both working full time, and we said, hey, look, maybe let's give this thing a shot, let's jump into it. And we ended up getting a studio space. So we got a studio space. I quit my job. And again, we had no money set aside. We did everything backwards, like you're not supposed to do. But I feel that doing that risk and jumping into it head first gave us the drive to continue it. Because at that point, it's like, hey, look, if I don't make money with this, then we don't make money, period, for that. And so that kind of made me push each week and each month, make those phone calls and make sure we follow up with people, advertise, things like that, so that we're able to, pay ourselves for that. We did that for... my oldest one's 16. So my wife quit her job when my middle one was born, so 12 years. So she's been out of a job for 12 years doing the stay-at-home mom thing. So when she left job for the second one. And so since then, it's kind of like now it's all on me. So I've got to, keep that drive going and make sure that we're getting bookings and things like that. And so I think that's just the drive to make it work is what's kept us in it. for this, not getting lazy, not getting complacent with things, keep trying to do new things and, enjoy stuff. And so I think that's kind of where the travel came in. I was tired of going like the local parks and things of that nature, and looking at the long-term industry. In the long term, you got the seniors, what are they going to want in 5, 10, 15 years from now? They're not going to want to go to the park. They're not going to want to do any of those things. They want experiences. So we kind of wanted to create experiences for the kids, and that's kind of where the travel came in. And so I love traveling. I love doing all that. And so that's kind of, kept me alive in this, keep something fun to do. Something's different.
Okay. So switching gears, when I first met you, it was in the education space. So you were an instructor. I was just really kind of revamping some portrait stuff. Obviously I came in, started out like anyone doing portraits, then I evolved into weddings, and then I started playing with the idea of doing portraits because a lot of my brides had younger siblings, and then I was getting that residual work of, hey, can you do their senior pictures? And of course we always say yes, we can.
Right.
When we met, I think I want to say it was probably 2017 when you first broke it out, because I remember the yellow shirt, signing it, what you were known for, but it was always positive experience. But from that point, from 2017, you've had a flood of students since then. What's been your biggest goal when it comes to your students that learn that are underneath the CJ learning tree?
So in like the workshop attendees, stuff like that.
Yeah, whether it's a workshop, whether it's teaching a class, like what's always been your number one goal?
To get people prepared for long-term success on this. Far too often, especially photographers, they think that our job is to take pretty pictures. So usually when I start my classes, I have the photographers raise their hands like, hey, who here is a person that, our job is to take pretty pictures? Obviously most of the hands go up in the air. They're like, yeah, we're photographers. And I come back and say, every single one of you are going to be out of business in 5 to 10 years. And they all kind of look at you like, well, aren't we photographers? Isn't that our job to take pictures? And yes, that is true. But we're looking at shifts in the industry, and the people who last and the businesses that last are the ones that create experiences. And so especially with the senior age group, people, those kids crave, Taylor Swift concerts. They want to go to Disney. They want to go, do all these different things. They don't want to go to the park down the street and take pictures, because anyone can do that. They can pull their cell phones out and things like that. And so I just want to, teach people to think of long-term success, think of things they can implement today that will allow them to be in business 15, 20 years down the road.
Okay, nice. So with the journey itself with seniors, and I mean, like I said, because obviously I've got a taste of it with doing destination weddings, which, is so many moving parts and everything. When you did your first few destinations, what was what was the main goals? Obviously it was providing the experience and everything, but when did you know that it had traction, or you had the traction you needed to kind of make this sustainable?
When I got back and posted the pictures and it had 300 likes on it and comments, and people were like, oh my gosh, how did we make this happen? Those types of reactions. I sent a text message out to all the seniors that I had at that point. And I was like, hey, if you guys are traveling, let me know what you guys are doing this summer. Cause we did that first trip. It was March of 2017, I think it was. And so that summer was, coming up in the, they graduated high school or whatever. So I put out there, if you guys are traveling somewhere, let us know. And so they, everyone texted us back like, oh my God, come this place with me. And so we kind of figured that we were onto kind of a gold mine, so to speak, for that.
I remember when it was really breaking out, especially in 2018, it was at Shutterfest, and somebody said, I don't know how he's able to, or he travels a lot. And I go, yeah. And the crazy thing is he's doing it with seniors, and we can barely do it with our brides. And I just remember this crazy idea, because I remember you would post hey, I'm going to be going, plane tickets to this random city is, $37 on Southwest. If I get 4 people to go, we'll go do some pictures. And it's that is crazy. But then it worked. And so it's I saw you track, you were showing those proof. I remember those posts that was going out there on Facebook, and you were kind of proving it, that, hey, and then the crazy thing that I have to remind myself was this was doing it with seniors and not with weddings. Cause everybody thinks that weddings is the biggest cash cow in our industry.
Right.
And I said, no, really it's your entire process is what your cash cow is, whether it's weddings, seniors, whatever. Cause I mean, you got the sales, you got everything behind it. So how did you evolve the business to sustain it with the 20 years between the, the traveling between this, what is kind of been your cachet, so to speak, the process?
Just making sure that we knew what numbers we're dealing with the studio. Okay. And so the biggest thing with the travel stuff is I have it set up in our studio to where the travel is pure profit. So I don't rely on the travel sessions to pay the, the studio mortgage or, utilities or, anything like that. Anything that I make if I make $10 from a destination session, it's $10 profit because I don't use
Okay.
that money to pay for my regular stuff. The regular senior sessions, the regular weddings, things like that, those cover the day-to-day operations of the studio. And then we just kind of created the niche in the studio of the destinations, which is by itself.
So would the destinations kind of, in a sense, be a bonus on
Right.
top of?
So if I
Okay.
travel and, let's say it's $1,000 for me to travel somewhere, I break even on that and they come back and they order $500 in pictures. I just made $500 profit
Okay.
because
Nice.
I don't use that money for, I don't need that to pay the utility bills or
Okay.
anything. So it's purely on its own because the reason for that is I don't know how many trips I'm taking a year. I don't know where we're going. I don't know the cost is involved in it. And so I can't plan my business going forward with, the question marks of, how many trips am I taking this year? Where are we going for them? How long am I spending away from the studio? All those questions. Whereas I can tell you, hey, look, we're going to photograph, 3 high schools. I've got all the volume. We're going to photograph 8 to 10 weddings a year. We're going to photograph, 20 seniors, individual sessions. We're going to do 3 or 4 different league pictures. And so I can plan all those things throughout the year. I know that those things are consistent year to year. We can expand those things. So I know what I need to hit numbers wise for each of those. But the destinations, like I said, I could do 1 trip a year. I could do 50 trips a year. I just don't know. So we don't rely on that money for the day-to-day operations.
Okay. So with seniors, I want to kind of like it's caveat to like part of the process. When I look at your pictures and I see like the great dresses, all the the overtop stuff, how much stuff do you have a hand in, whether it's the design of it, the layout, what they're wearing, wardrobe, or is it all on your seniors to create this and then you just work with what you have, or how much input are you putting in on that?
So I do about 100% of it.
Okay.
So I plan it from the ground up. So I'll tell people, hey, we're going to go to this location. Let us know if you're interested. They sign up for it. And then I plan where we're staying at. I plan where we're doing the pictures at. I plan all the different locations we're going to. I tell them, what kind of outfits to bring. Now, obviously, the outfits they pick and they bring with them are up to them.
Okay.
So they get that aspect of it. But I'll tell them, hey, look, we want some casual things, jeans and t-shirts. We want some, spring dress. We want a romper. We want, boots or whatever it is, jeans and boots or whatever. And then I have a dress closet here at the studio. I've got like 45 or 50 dresses. And so the girls can come in and look at the dresses there. And we usually bring like 2 or 3 of those on the trips. And we let them, usually there's about 3 girls on it. So we let each of them pick one. But then between all of them, the 3 dresses, we can rotate them in and out. So we get multiple looks for it. And we can change the colors of the dresses so the girls can wear the same dress. And we can change the colors to a completely different dress.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's all 100% me for the most part. That way, I don't have to deal with, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. It's like, hey, look, this is what we're doing. If you want to come, great. If not, then don't come.
So going as we with the changes of our industry, with the, I guess I don't want to say fast paced, but I mean it used to be quite a bit slower when I first started, and then obviously when cameras started to upgrade, we went mirrorless, and we're now in the new era of AI and everything. How have you been able to evolve, so to speak, with all the changes that are going on? Because 20 years, there's obviously a lot of changes and moving parts in that. So how did you go through that?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is it's a lot easier today to create what we're creating. So I remember back in the early days of Photoshop, we had, trying to clone something out of a picture took forever.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just circle it and, shift backspace to content to fill it, or you do the AI generation thing and it takes it out in like 30 seconds and it's gone. So it allows us to be a lot quicker turnaround. We've been doing a lot of same day sales. So the seniors will come in for like the regular session. We do, the beach location or whatever it is they want to do for that. We send them out to dinner for like an hour or so. They come back to my studio that night, and then we show them all the pictures and everything's edited. So we use all like the, Imagine for the color correction. We use Evoto for the retouching, all of that. And it's done in 20 minutes.
Wow.
Whereas an entire session before, took 2 hours, 3 hours. So we're able to turn around a lot quicker. Weddings, I get done with the wedding the next day.
Okay.
So I mean, it's crazy. So obviously I don't give them the pictures the next day. We wait like a week and a half, 2 weeks, just so they're not like, what'd you do for these pictures? My wedding was yesterday. I don't want to make it
Yeah,
look like too
too
fast.
fast. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
There's
So,
there,
but I
there's
mean,
no
I
such thing
can
as too fast.
right. I can cull it. I mean, there's automated culling now too. So I mean, you can literally spend 5 minutes editing a wedding and be done with it. So I mean, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so we found that the same day sales thing has been pretty big. We've done it with the seniors. We do it with like our engagement clients. Obviously, weddings we're not going to bring them in the same day, but everyone loves it because they're still in the high of the photo shoot, and they can't believe that they're looking at pictures that they took an hour ago. So it's like, hey,
Wow.
we took these an hour ago, and they're like fully edited, retouched, all of that. They're like, how'd you get it done so quick? I was like, I took good pictures, make it sound like it's my skill, but it's really just pushing buttons on a computer for that.
But it's almost like being the person where it's like you're doing something that no one else can copy versus like if they had went with someone else, they're not going to be able to do what you just did. So I think that's always
Well,
important.
so that's where you got to catch yourself, and that's where the big discussion in the industry is going. Is like, what is AI going to do for this industry? And I have a feeling, that dark days are ahead with that, because you've got think like corporate headshots. There's companies out there now. My friend's a realtor, or he runs like a company that works with realtors, and he was at like a realty trade show. And in the trade show, there's a company that will take headshots for the people, for the agents. Pretty much, they take their own headshots. They send you like a kit in the mail for $20. They get 80 different looks, and it looks. I mean, for what they need it for. I mean, it's not obviously 100% perfect, but for what a realtor needs an image for, it's good enough for what they're using. Doctor's offices, same thing. They don't need us necessarily to take the pictures anymore. So you're going to start seeing some of that shift, which is why I stress the importance of experiences. If we're just photographers that are meeting people at a park and going through the motions, even if we do all the editing the same day and all that stuff, anyone can do that. That doesn't set me apart from anybody, but they're not getting the same experience that I provide. And so that's kind of where I think that the industry needs to shift and start focusing on, is the experiences that we're providing versus the pictures we're taking.
All right, and if I may ask, so when you talk about the experience, what do you think has been, I guess, a key point in the experience you provide to your clients?
Yeah, so like seniors, for instance, we do the full model experience. So they come in, get hair and makeup done. We offer them like massages and stuff like that. They can go to the salon if they want to and get all that done. So it's kind of like a pampering type thing.
Okay.
And then we go out on location and we do all the sessions and we joke around with them, and I'll do like behind the scenes videos and I make fun of them as they do stuff and things like that. And so it's my personality with them. It's how kind of we communicate, go back and forth, things like that. And then completing the experience. So when they go out to dinner, usually we set it up with the restaurant, down the street. Hey, go to the restaurant. Just tell them that you're here for me. Order whatever you want to, and that comes with that part of the session for that. And then they do that. They come back to the studio and they're looking at the pictures that night. We do drinks or whatever at the studio. And then the turnaround time, they come in, pick everything up. We wrap everything nicely. So it kind of completes it from the beginning to the end for that.
Nice. Okay. So that's just on the senior side. We haven't even talked about like what weddings and everything else. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But so 20 years, man, what's been your favorite part about being a photographer?
Probably just the people that we meet. And kind of having a small part in think of a senior, we're having a small part in the seniors' lives. So especially you think of like destination stuff. Probably 90% of the kids I take on destinations have never traveled anywhere before. Okay. And the reason for that is we found this out kind of early on. People have a bucket list of places they want to go. Like for instance, you want to go to Iceland. A lot of people don't know how to book the trip to Iceland. They don't know where to go when they get there. They don't know transportation, weather, things like that. I become the travel expert for that. And so I plan the entire trip for them. And so someone's bucket list might be Italy. They just never really had a reason to go. And now I provide the reason for them to go with their high school senior. Hey mom, your daughter's going to leave college for, 2 months, you're never going to see her again, kind of thing. Now obviously they'll see them, but when you start talking to the parents about it, it's one of those things like, hey mom, this is like your one chance to be a week in, some other country with your daughter one-on-one time. Before they go away to college. Because once they go away to college, that's when their life begins for the most part.
Very true.
The first couple of weeks, and you'll experience this when your daughter leaves. She'll come back the first couple of weeks. Hey, Dad, I want some food, or I want laundry, or I just want to sleep in my bed for a little bit. Probably year 2 in college, she's in the sorority. She's got a bunch of friends. They go hang out every weekend. They go out, travel on their own and go do things with themselves. And then, slowly, she's not coming back as often as she used to. It might be summers at that point. And then, junior year, she's kind of, interning places, got a job or whatever. She might just stay at college the whole time. And so, get an apartment or whatever, and they kind of slowly transition into their lives. And so I just kind of remind parents like, hey, this is your chance, the one-on-one time with your daughter or son in a different country and different location, just hanging out, enjoying life together. And so that becomes an experience in itself as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree because I got to feel that a couple weeks ago when we were at WPPI. It was our first trip to Las Vegas, and we did a session out there, and she got to have get some new experiences, and I did get to get a little bit of that time with her before she goes off to college. So yeah, you got me in my feelings now, man. I'm all thinking about like, man, I wish I took her to Iceland now.
Yeah, it's not too late. You can do it this summer. She's still here.
Oh no! As soon as she graduates, family vacation, then she's off to basic training and then college.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I mean, she's got a more important thing to do than do all that.
But I told her, we have standing invitations. She's going to know my travel schedule next year when she's gone. I told her any long weekends, if you want to go somewhere, tell me what city or tell me where you want to go, and we're there. Especially if I have the weekend done, and now I have the ability to open up my schedule and travel more because it's not the idea of being gone for 5 days is tough when you have the kids home. But now that they're gone, it's like, oh, I can go for 5 days. I can go on these photo excursions and work on my craft and everything. So, shifting over back to the education side of things, what's been your favorite part on the education side of things?
Probably the same thing, meeting people. So, I mean, we go to, Shutter Fest, obviously, and we hang out there, and, it's, cool to, sit at 2 o'clock in the morning just talking to other photographers and kind of hanging out and doing stuff there. We go to Vegas and meet people in Vegas for WPPI or imaging, and just, new vendors and, having, built relationships with people, across, the country or the world, basically. And just hanging out and, talking for, several hours at a time and, just having fun.
Yeah, I always say the shop tops are like the best. That's where the real learning is because you get to really pick the brains of the people that are doing it at a high level. And I tell everybody that if you think not sitting around round table and we're just chit chatting or whatever at 10, 11, 12, 3 o'clock in the morning, I say if you don't think you're learning something, man, you're not paying attention. Because I mean, I've gotten some of my best gems from like guys like you and Jeff just when we're sitting around shooting the breeze and just shop talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like photography aspect either. So, a lot of people that we meet, we talk about life stuff. We talk about, what's going on with their lives and, get to know people on like a personal level rather than just, hey, you're a photographer, come talk, come listen to me talk to you for 2 hours about whatever. So just the personal connections and all of that. And then obviously, yes, the conversations about photography. I remember one year where it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and we're having like a whole marketing dissertation. There's like 15 of us sitting around a table at Shutterfest and we're just all having like marketing ideas for different things and, new products and, stuff like that. 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. But no, it's fun. It's, getting to see people and getting to, be a little part in their journey going forward. And, that's why our smiley face part, I go back to the experience aspect of things, even with the education. And so, those that don't know, I wear a smiley face t-shirt for Shutterfest and, have people come up and sign my shirt and things like that. But it just provides a little bit of an experience. I mean, they're going to remember me from it. Vendors remember who I am from that. And so it's just something fun, to do and enjoy.
But yeah, and the smiley face, it does work because I remember when somebody would say, hey, if you want to know about CJ, you need to talk to CJ. They would either say Curtis or CJ. Right. And they said, yeah, go talk to Curtis. And they're like, well, who's Curtis? And they were like, smiley face dude. And then everybody like, oh, and it like the big light bulb would go off. And I'd laugh. But I said for years, he's always done it. And, and it's almost like you owned it because no one else would do it or no one else would dare to do the smiley face now because of you.
Well, see, the thing about that started it is it was like Shutterfest 3 or something. So back then, that was 7 years ago. Yep. I was looking at ways to become like a instructor or a speaker. And so I was talking, some other speakers, one of those midnight conversations, like how does this work? How do the doors open? All those things. And so most of that is vendor driven. So you got to have like the relationships with the vendors because a lot of that stuff is they have connections with the organizers or they're paying for spots like, for imaging or WPPI. Some of those bigger ones, they pay for a platform class and they can put whoever they want to into that class. And so I'm looking around the trade show one day up at the, the balcony looking out is like, so how do I stand out with, 2,000 photographers here? Why is a vendor going to pay attention to me? I can walk up to introduce myself. Hey, my name's Curtis. I photograph seniors, this and this and this. I can email them back on Mondays. Hey, it was nice to meet you. And they're like, well, who were you? There's no real connection there. And so I was like, you know what? Everyone's wearing black shirts, everyone's wearing gray shirts or neutral colors, things like that. It's like, I'm going to put on a smiley face t-shirt and walk through this place next year and see what happens. And so I went and bought the shirt, and then I was sitting in the room, and I was thinking is like a lot of this stuff is also kind of social media driven. So, followers and, being well known and things like that doesn't hurt anything. I won't necessarily say that it helps so much or that's the goal that we should have, but it doesn't hurt to be well known or, for people to notice you or whatever. And so I was like, you know what? If I have people come up and sign my t-shirt, that's going to look like all these signatures on the front of my shirt or the back of my shirt. Everyone's gonna be like, why does he have all these signatures? And so sure enough, I told people to sign my shirt, made a selfie post in the group or whatever. I'm talking to, I think it was Spider Holster at the time at the booth, and all these people came up to me, saw the shirt, they started signing my shirt, and the Spider Holster guy's like, what's the deal with the shirt? And so I explained it to him. I was like, when I email you back on Monday to thank you for coming to the show and, thank you for, talking to me for a little bit, you're going to instantly know who I am. I'm going to say, I'm the guy with a smiley face t-shirt. Everybody signed the shirt. And you're like, yep, I know who that person is instantly. And so it creates that connection there. And so it's a way for them to remember who I am. And so now fast forward 7 years from there, I've been a speaker there several times. I've got sponsorships and things like that. And a lot of that is driven from the connections and stuff that I've made with that shirt.
Nice. So you were just saying, you get a blue smiley face shirt and just take the copy. No, I always say my time will come when it comes. I'm enjoying the process and I'm enjoying the journey right now. And again, I'm learning from you guys and learning how it goes from because everybody has their own pathway of like how they got sponsored or how they got recognized.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's was different. And it's like you definitely was you were in a way you were one of the original rebels to do it because you didn't have the machine behind you of like
right.
We're gonna put everything in market behind this person because we think they're gonna have they're gonna be the face of the industry. And it's like now you kind of had the true I don't want to say rags to riches because it never was about being broke or nothing, but it was definitely how do you go from just being the average photographer that has the skills and everything that can shoot well. How did you stand out? And it was you had an original idea and you took it and ran with it, and you did it unapologetically, which was awesome.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like the whole marketing degree kind of comes into that. And so I use that example all the time when I teach as well. It's like, we want to stand out in the industry. There's, anyone has 8,000 photographers around them. Where you're at, there's probably, you can throw a stone down the street and probably hit 15 of them in the head, as you're doing stuff. And so there's competition everywhere for that. And so it's like, how do we stand out, against all those people? And so I use that example all the time. It's like, if everyone's wearing black, I want to be the one that wears yellow, yellow smiley face t-shirt. And so we can relate that to our businesses as well. Everyone is doing the local parks. Everyone's doing, the cool locations locally, but no one's really traveling the world, with their clients. And so we kind of embrace that and just kind of make the stuff that's different. And so we're looking for like the next things that, are different.
Nice. So, looking forward with the future and everything, we're having, right now, I'm personally having an awesome year so far, and it's, getting bigger and better. And as I am growing the portrait side of things and kind of scaling back on weddings, what are the next things for you? What's on the pipeline for you?
Yeah, I think we're doing a lot more of the volume stuff now. Same thing with us. We scale back weddings. We do about 10 a year now. But we jack the prices way up on it. So it's the people that hire us for the weddings. They really want us to be there for it. And so those are the ones we enjoy because we found, early on, doing those $500 weddings, it was great. $500 on a weekend, there's not a lot of jobs that pay $500 for a day, or even 2 days. I mean, you can't find that much, you're talking like lawyer work, stuff like that. So, I mean, it's good money. But we were gone every single weekend. We were doing 3 or 4 weddings a weekend sometimes, like Friday, Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and just got to be overwhelming. And so we also found that a lot of the cheaper budget ones, they're a little bit more demanding of what we do. I remember walking in one time, years ago, it was probably 15, 16 years ago. I think it was like a $500-$600 wedding. And the shoot list that they had was like that long. It was literally like, we want this, we want mom and dad together, this. I was like, okay, we do all that anyway. And it's like, well, I want this picture here too. I want this and this. And it's like, they're so demanding. Whereas the ones that are paying us like $10,000 to photograph, they're like, hey, you tell us where you want us to be. You tell us what to do. You tell us the timeline you want. And so I'm in full control of the entire day because they trust us with the vision, because they're, they know that we're good at what we do. And so we kind of scale back the weddings a lot for that. But on the flip side of it, we do the volume stuff as well, which is like the, sports and things like that. And so those are, only increasing in numbers. So I think we're going to transition a little bit more into more of that, some of that volume stuff, focus on the destination stuff with the seniors, and then kind of scale back weddings a little bit.
Okay. And with the approach that you have, I guess, and I don't want to say this is a more controversial question, but how have you been able to navigate the potholes of the industry? Because I mean, again, I can only name on one hand how many destination senior photographers exist. And even the ones that do exist, there's been some type of fingerprint that you have on their career. So it's no secret that if you say destination senior photography, you're on almost on everybody's top 5 as far as like someone that's doing it in the US. How have you been able to navigate that amongst the sea of senior photographers that are out there that are trying to find their success or find their way, and then you are standing out in a unique way because you're doing it at a high level and in a way that is almost hard to replicate?
Yeah. I don't know. Just kind of just keep chugging along, I guess, would be the simple thing. Again, a lot of what we do is trying to be the, providing experiences for everybody. And not being the photographer that, just simply takes pictures. Because at some point in time, especially with, the phones the way they are now, I mean, these kids today, they don't need us to take pictures. They can just go do it on their phone and it's good enough for them. Obviously it's not a professional quality. Obviously we know lighting and we know those types of things. So it's gotta be a little bit more than that for that. And so I think that's the pitfall that a lot of people are going to fall into, is that they want to be, the photographer, rather than the experience creator, so to speak. Now that's not to say that what we do, artistically isn't important, because obviously you want to have the best pictures possible. And, I'm always learning. I'm always, trying new techniques. And, just today I was photographing with LED lights that we got and, just playing around at the studio to kind of come up with more things that we can do. And so even something that simple, I was showing the girl the back of the camera and she was like impressed. She's like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before. But she's having that experience of the first time of being, something different. It's, none of her friends have ever done pictures with LED lights, anything like that. And so just kind of, being different with that.
Okay. And then with the growth itself, and you're talking about trying something different with LED lights. I'm looking at some of the sneaks that you did, and I mean, it looks like you were in midday sun, right there. And so, I mean, you shot in the middle of the day. You didn't do the cheat code with golden hour. How have you been able to stay creative during this process? I mean, because again, 20 years of doing this, how have you fought the idea, the mundaneness, the complacency? How have you been able to battle all that and still do this at a high level 20 years later?
Yeah, so you've got to keep a passion for what you do. And so far too often, I just saw someone post this today, actually, how do you keep photography fun when it's a business? And so far too often people get it stuck into the day-to-day aspects of the business. We've got to do this, and this. And then it becomes a job, basically. That's not to say what I do isn't a job. Obviously I have to do all those things as well, but I also like to have fun with it. And so like today was a perfect example. I put the lights out. I've never really used them in that aspect before with the senior. I've done like boudoir pictures with them before. I've never actually used LED wands before. So it's the first time I did that. So just trying new things, experimenting. I had one of my seniors come in and be like, hey, let's, play this. And I told her, I was like, I don't know how they're going to come out. We'll see how they come out when we get there. But just having fun with it and, experimenting and playing around with it. And there's no pressure there to, I'm not doing it during a session that, someone's paying me to do. We're just having fun at the studio. And so I, always tell people all the time is like, do things that you enjoy, put yourself into like different zones of comfort level. If we're just doing the same thing every day, over and over and over, hey, we're going to shoot at golden hour. We're going to do this, at sunset on the beach, it gets mundane and boring. And so you got to make sure you have fun with it. And so like, even like Shutterfest, for instance, I'm doing 14 photo shoots this year. Not that I need to do photo shoots, just, I went a little crazy this year.
See, and why am I not on any of them? Like, there's that. CJ.
But anyway, so it's about having fun, and so I don't need to photograph 14 people because I can do that any day, and that's like a job. But it's 14 different concepts that we're photographing that I normally don't do. So it's kind of like outside of my comfort level, so to speak, in a different atmosphere, different location. So it's all kind of new for that, and it's just kind of keep it fresh, keep things fun. If you get into that, this is boring, you're losing the passion for it, then, challenge yourself, go out at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, call a client up, hey, I'm going to create some images, and just do something that you've never done before. And then find the challenge in doing that. And so I find, challenges along the way. And that's one of the reasons I like traveling a lot, is because a lot of places we go to, are different. It's not the same thing that I photographed 500 times. It's not the same, the park, the same beach, or the same, lighting situation. It's an entirely different city I've never been to before, or it's a different location I've never been to before. And there's a challenge of finding the different spots and things like that. And so I just, always tell people is like, keep challenging yourself. You can be the best wedding photographer in the world, but go out there and, challenge and do something you've never done before. And just kind of keep it fresh and, keep your mind, sharp, so to speak.
Okay, awesome, man. You answered all my questions, then follow us. It's like, you're killing it. You're making my job too easy, man.
So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's fun. I've been doing it for 20 years. A lot of people, it's kind of like, what's the end game for it? And so I haven't really thought.
Do you see it in game? Like, do you, I guess I don't want to add. I don't want you to put your too much of your personal out there. Like, I don't say what's your exit strategy. Like, when do you see yourself finally stepping? Like, do you ever see yourself stepping away, or just staying involved in photography or education, photography?
Yeah, we had this conversation the other day, and so I think it's important to even talk about. I mean, I'm not opposed to the conversation, because a lot of times, we're taking pictures and like, okay, great, what are we doing this forever? Am I gonna be the 80-year-old photographer that shows up and for high school senior pictures, and they're like, there's the old dude that's taking pictures? I mean, what is it? Where do we see ourselves? And so I think probably what my goal is going to be, as I transition, probably looking at like 10 years or so, I would think, somewhere I'm 41 now. So probably 50, 51 is kind of where we take a step back a little bit, because I've become that creepy guy with the photographer. The creepy guy with the camera that showed up to like all the sports stuff.
It's an unfortunate reality, but I mean, I'm in the same boat with you. 41, and I was telling my wife, I said, I have 10, maybe 15 hard years left in me as far as shooting at a high level before my body actually tells me that it's time to stop. It reminds me a lot like when I was in the Army. There was a day where I just woke up and it was a lot of pain, and I just said the day it hurts to put the boots on. That's when I really need to take a hard look at what I'm doing. Because I can only, your body's going to give out and just give up on you. And, I'm starting to feel that a little bit now, where it's like, okay, I need to drop a little weight, stretch my body a little bit more, take care of the body. Because, weddings wear you down. I mean, just the weddings alone. I mean, I could do portraits all day, but even then, doing enough portraits in one day, your body wears itself out. So, thinking about the, end game, or I guess being more realistic to the human aspect of it, I think that's the part that's been a struggle, so to speak.
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm this weird person, I guess you'd say. My wife calls me a robot, because I can stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning, wake up at 4 o'clock, or go to bed for an hour, wake up and be fine. I can do that for a week straight or 2 weeks straight. I don't really get sick that often. So maybe one day it's going to hit me like that and be like, hey, I turned 50, and it's like my body just shuts down and it's done.
Yeah. I'm the same way, but there's those moments where you just like, I'm tired today and I'm going to do a whole lot of nothing, and you just sleep all day. But then there's that cycle where you're going through like just like 20-hour days, 2 hours of sleep. You're running off of coffee and adrenaline and every bad thing in between. And, you're doing that for, just this 6-week period. And then you're like just crash out or whatever. But yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah. But like I said, we got to think of something, what we're going to do in the future, because obviously no one can do this forever. Even if we wanted to do it, could we do this 85 years old? Probably not. Yeah. But I also don't want to be a Walmart greeter. So I got to think of what, what we're going to do with it. And so I probably see myself more transitioning to a marketing role within, like maybe one of my sponsors or something like that, to where I do, the trade show aspect, get to go have conversations with people, talk about the product, kind of like, I don't want to say like a salesperson, so to speak, but, or deal with like ambassador type issues, stuff like that. And so kind of more into the business world of it versus the actual photography side of it. I think when we start transitioning out, we'll get rid of like weddings completely, and that will be like done, or we shoot like maybe 1 a year, 2 a year, whatever. Put a, $20,000 price tag on it. Someone wants to pay it, I'll shoot it. But I don't want to do it every single weekend. Probably get rid of some of the volume stuff. Although that, with the volume, people don't think about this. the volume, I can hire someone else to do the pictures for me. I just make the money from it. So maybe the
Very
volume,
true.
kind of pull like a Life Touch kind of thing, and maybe franchise it, or something similar to that, where you hire other people to run it, and I'm just the head person that is in charge of it all, and they get my kids to do it or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If they don't have any ambitions, like, hey, let's give them a job and let's teach them how to do it.
Yeah, my middle one is actually likes photography, so she's been tagging along with me every once in a while. She'll come out and take some pictures and things like that.
It didn't stick with my kids. And it's a happy, sad thing for me to say that. It's like it's a sad because like, man, I would have loved that pass this on to the kids, but then it's like a happy because it's like, you know what, she doesn't have to go through the ebbs and flows and the pain and suffering or the happiness and sadness of being a photographer in those years where you're like trying to figure it out, and then those years where you're on cloud nine, and then the highs and lows of a pandemic and everything that came in between during COVID. So I definitely don't want to wish that on my daughter by no means, but she has her own goals and aspirations, and my hope is that she puts doctor in front of that last name and becomes that first doctor in the family. So
yeah, I mean, the same thing. My kids, my oldest one is into kind of like animals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's like the rebellious teenager at the moment. She's 16 and thinks she knows everything about the world.
Because she does. I mean, what do you know? What do you know? You just travel the world taking pictures. I mean, you know nothing, CJ. Come on.
I don't know anything. What we're talking about. It's funny you say that though, because the parents, and so going back to that experience aspect of the trips, we've nicknamed the trips Life Lessons with Curtis. And so what it is, and we say that because, like I said, a lot of the girls never traveled before. They never left the country in particular. And so they live like their life in this little bubble. And so nothing exists outside this bubble. And so when they get to a different location, it's like there's a whole different world they've never even experienced before. And so I'll teach them how to do like the train systems or subways. You go to New York City, I'll teach them to navigate the subways there, how to do Uber and taxis and stuff like that. But like the crazy thing is, and I don't necessarily condone underage drinking, but you go to Italy, the drinking age is pretty much non-existent. And so we'll tell the parents, they're like, hey, look, if you want your kid to drink, you're responsible for them, kind of thing. You're their parent. There's no age restriction, so that's fine. If we stay somewhere in the U.S., I don't let them do it. Even the mom lets them do it because it's illegal here. But like I remember we were in Italy one night, and it was like the last night, and we're like hopping around different bars because the girls wanted to go like different places and kind of like, hey, let's go out for the night or whatever. They're getting their drinks, moms, and they're talking together, and then the girls come back, sit their drinks down on the table, have a sip, walk away, go out and dance, come back and start drinking them again. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Ooh.
And they're like,
oh my gosh, every like red flag parent thing just went in my head now.
And they're like, we're just having our drinks. It's like, but you set your cup down. Like, okay, so I was like, you have no idea. And again, it's the small, the circle that they live in. If they party in the woods or whatever, no one's going to do anything because of a bunch of friends. But I was like, you can't do that in the real world. We're not in your bubble anymore. And so we got to teach them, those types of things, what to be careful for. Even the parents, like one of the moms had her cell phone stolen while we were in Greece. Because she didn't listen to me, and I told them, I was like, don't put anything flashy in your backpack, So she put her phone in her backpack, and it was on her back, and we piled into a subway train. It was like jam packed, so people were like bumping, and then someone unzipped her bag and took her phone out, because she didn't listen to what I told her. So we kind of nickname it, Life Lessons with Curtis, because I'll talk to him about life and stuff like that. And so again, I'm with somebody for a week, so I know pretty much the whole life story at that point, at the end of the trip. And so we talk about like relationships, and we talk about their friends and, plans for college and stuff like that. And the parents usually text me when we get back, and they're like, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to my daughter about a lot of those things because she listens to me. Whereas, they don't listen to the parent because it's the parent talking to them. And, my parent doesn't know anything. My mom is stupid, whatever. But then they respect me because I've been around and, I'm a different person. And so I can say the exact same thing the mom tells them or dad tells them, and they don't listen. And as soon as I say it's like a light bulb goes off, and like, oh my God, that's right. And so,
very true.
Yeah, the parents thank me for that. The friendships we make and stuff like that for those.
That's awesome. I look forward to getting one of my life lessons with Curtis here in a couple of weeks. When we've
had a couple of them, I think.
Yeah, we've gone over so many. If we had an uncut podcast, we could talk about all the shenanigans stories. Like I always say, you're one of my favorite drinking buddies, allegedly. Because no one knows if we actually drink or not. We give off the impression.
Yeah, exactly.
People no one knows if we're drinking or not. We're just maybe acting, putting on the act.
There's water,
There's always water. Yeah. Just because it's clear doesn't mean it was tequila or whiskey or rum. Nah, but man, thank you so much for your time. I just looked up, we're hitting we hit 45 minutes already, man. It just blew by so fast. And just thank you for allowing this time for me to pick your brain and have the conversation with you, man. And, just sharing your story and your experience.
Yeah, thanks for having me out.
Yeah, all right, man. And I'll see you next week. Alex, wait, we're a week away from Shutterfest, so
A week today.
When this airs, we'll be a week away from Shutterfest, and I'll run into you, and I'm just gonna crash some of your photo shoots for sure,
Yeah,
like I always do.
Yeah, I'm hard to miss with the yellow smiley face T-shirt. So
exactly. I mean, do you buy them in bulk now at this point, or is that
no,
becoming?
actually, I just buy one at a time, and so I wear it for the week. But I wear a white T-shirt underneath it, so it's pretty much just like a jacket, so to speak, at that point.
Okay.
So there's no I don't sweat that much anyway, and so it's not like a dirty dirty shirt I wear for a week. I change the undershirt out and stuff like that. But yeah, I have one for every year, and I've got them all saved in my closet, at home.
Nice. You're gonna start. At what point are you gonna frame them up on
I
on
should.
the wall and everything?
Yeah. So this year,
like a jersey, man. There you go.
So the last couple of years, I haven't done the signatures, but year 10 at Shutterfest, I'm bringing the signature back this year. So we're gonna have people sign the shirt again, go around, just let people have fun with it, and see what trouble I can get into.
So since this episode's coming out before Shutterfest, is there any surprises that you want to announce for Shutterfest or anything, or you want to keep everything kind of like?
I don't really have any. I mean, we're doing the prizes for our classes.
Okay.
And so something that I kind of do in my classes is we do kind of like a scavenger hunt thing with it. And so rather than just coming to class, I draw names out or whatever, and say, hey, Susie, you won, whatever from this person. Everyone gets excited, then there's nothing. So what I do for my classes is I give them a card that they have to go around to the different vendors and get different stuff for.
Nice.
So you come to my class, you get entered in this contest. We're doing a big grand prize drawing this year with like $2,000 worth of stuff that we're giving away.
Nice.
For year 10. So we went big this year with it. We got Meat Fest, come hang out and eat some meat with us on Monday night. And then we're doing the party bus this year. So we got permission to do a party bus. So we're all going to party bus over to Meat Fest, then hang out at the restaurant for a little bit, and then come back to Union Station for your whiskey and cigars.
Nice. Yep. It's a hell of a way to start out Shutterfest this year. I know that much. It's going to be fun.
35 degrees outside and raining. We're going to be outside drinking whiskey and having cigars.
Hey, that's why you drink whiskey, so you can stay warm. I've never been cold drinking whiskey.
Wasn't it like the St. Bernard that had that around his neck for the cold?
What's that? Say it again.
Wasn't the St. Bernard he used to rescue people? They had the little thing around his neck and had whiskey in it.
No, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, there was back in the snow, these snow places. They had the dog that would run out and rescue people, and it had a little round thing and it had whiskey or something inside it.
Oh yeah, I think it was a commercial thing that they did.
Right. Yeah,
oh gosh, I'm trying to remember that.
That was years ago.
Yeah. Okay, man, you're dating us. Man, you're telling everybody how old we really are now. Gosh, I gotta stop doing that.
I'm 20. What are you talking about?
I'm in my late 20s now. I've been celebrating my 21-year-old anniversary for years now.
Yeah, for 20 years, yeah.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, hey, again, appreciate your time, man, and I'll see you in a week.
All right, sounds good.
Later.
That's it.
That's it for this week's show. Again, thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with others. Leave those reviews and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until then, see you next week.